Hi everyone, I'm your race officer Peter Saxton, and here's a competitor briefing for the Rooster UK RS Tera start of season championships this coming weekend at Royal Lymington. First of all, let's start with a bit about timetable. This is the timetable for Saturday. You'll have seen from your sailing instructions that the first warning signal is at 12 o'clock. Working backwards from that, soon after 11 o'clock, we expect to display Delta on shore. That's your launch flag. So you'll be able to launch then. There is a one-way system being operated on the slipway, so boats going down one side and trolleys coming back up the other side. And there will be marshals in high-vis jackets to help that work efficiently. Just one point to note, it is the RLymYC, the lifeboat launch ramp as well. So if there was a lifeboat incident, we'd have to move out of the way. Also, just for those of you whose parents are involved in safety and race team briefing, that'll take place at 10 o'clock on the forecourt. That's on the water side of the clubhouse on the ground floor. And our basic plan for the day is to have 4 races back to back. So it means we should be coming ashore, I'd say round about 5:15, could be a bit earlier, might be a bit later. So quite a long day on the water. In terms of the forecast, the Met Office forecast for Lymington issued at 6 o'clock Thursday as I'm recording this. For Saturday, you can see that the wind speed is kind of averaging 8 to 11 knots, 10 to 11 knots, but with gusting up to 16, 17 knots. Basically, it'll be quite gusty. And also, if you have a look at the temperature, it'll be quite cold as well. So please make sure you're well dressed up for that sort of weather. In terms of what the actual weather feels like on the day, it will feel quite calm in the car park. But if you look at this map on the bottom left-hand side of the slide, you can see the race area circled in red is obviously out in the Solent. If you want to know what it's actually like near there any time, then you can look at the weatherfile.com website. And location 22 is Lymington Race Platform. If you look on the chart, you can see that black circle is round where the platform is, so it really is very close to the race area. And if you look at the bottom right-hand side, you can see what the weather is doing, the wind is doing at the starting platform. And as I talk to you at the moment, I'm preparing this on Thursday evening, it's 34 knots, gusting 42, which is why there was no racing at Lymington for Thursday evening. In terms of what the racing is going to be like, the good news is you'll get plenty of racing. We've got good wind, good visibility. It'll give you some tidal experience, and we've got good safety cover. On the other hand, it's definitely not summer yet. It is going to be cold. It's wind against tide, and in other words, the tide's going to where the wind's coming from, which means it'll be choppier, shorter, sharper waves than if the tide was going with the wind. So it'll be quite a bit bumpy. It's a long day on the water, and also it's a little sail out from the club out of the river and into the Solent. So it's not a kind of particularly easy place to get back from by yourself. Now, if you look at this picture on the illustration on the right-hand side, we're going to have some pink buoys off to one side of the racecourse. If people want to retire, and rather than having to use a safety boat to marshal them all the way back to the club, what we're likely to do is tie the boats up on these little pink buoys to the side of the racecourse and then bring the sailors ashore, and then we'll bring the boats ashore at the end of the day. The basic problem with bringing boats and sailors in during the day is that it takes safety boats off the racecourse, and we may finish up with not enough safety cover on the racecourse and having to stop racing. So if you are going to come ashore during the day, don't be surprised if we take you ashore and leave your boat on the water. We will wrap the sail up and that sort of thing, so it's not flogging, but that's likely to be the routine. Just a few things to watch out for. First of all, this Lymington to Yarmouth ferry, it is a big ferry, so the safety boats will make sure you're out of the way of that. Our race area is well clear of the ferry, but for those of you not used to seeing big ships sailing nearby, that's just something to look out for. From a race management point of view, a couple of things. We've got 2 different courses, and we'll either display an L for the windward leeward course, which most of you are probably familiar with from your standard sailing instructions. We have also put in a triangle course. That's because we wanted to make sure there was a course that was potentially easier to sail if it was pretty windy. So rather than giving you a run, that gives you 2 reaches. It also means from a safety point of view that we can put a few safety boats at the jibe mark. That's mark 2 in that bottom picture, because that's where most boats will be jibing, which obviously if it's windy might mean you tip in. But it's an easier course for us to provide safety cover on, but still to give you good racing. And if we are doing the triangle course, do make sure you recognise where the finish line is. If you have a look carefully at the diagram, you'll see that the finish line is off the bow of the committee boat. Other things to look out for, because we're running the racing towards the edge of the Solent, we may put the start line, the pin, could either be to port, that's in the left-hand picture, which is kind of what you'd normally expect, but it may finish up being on the starboard side of the race course. That means we don't have to put the committee boat into such shallow water, so be ready for that. And the other thing, from a prep flag, that's your kind of 4-minute flag, make sure you understand the difference between the 3 different flags we could use, the Papa, the uniform and the black flag. And if you're not sure what that's all about, have a look at Racing Rule 30 and that'll explain things. Basically, we don't want you to be on the wrong side of the start line so that we have to penalise you, which means you might not get a result. So just make sure you understand those. But as I'm sure you appreciate, with 4 races to get through in a day, we don't want to spend all our time practicing starting and finding you're on the wrong side of the start line. So if necessary, we will use uniform or black so that we can get the starts away. I think those are the key things. It's good for you to have a read through the sailing instructions, have fun, enjoy the event. And if you've got any questions, ideally, please email me, but otherwise my phone number's on there as well. Thanks very much and look forward to seeing you at the weekend.